All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are exploring the absolute ultimate electrical safety net. It's the unsung hero of literally every single facility you have ever walked into, the earthing system. We're going to break down exactly how this thing works and, most importantly, how to inspect and maintain it so it never ever fails when you need it the most.
I mean, really think about that for a second. What actually happens when a massive lightning bolt hits a facility? Or, when a high-voltage piece of equipment just suddenly suffers an internal fault? Fault currents and lightning, they are constant, looming antagonists in the electrical world. Without an invisible shield in place, those rogue currents are going to find their own path to the ground. And unfortunately, that's often through your sensitive equipment, or much worse, through people, causing catastrophic fires or fatal shocks. That invisible shield? Yeah, that is your earthing system.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our anatomy to action roadmap for today. 1. The invisible safety net. 2. Types and core components. 3. The 4-step inspection guide. 4. Testing earth resistance values. 5. Maintenance and common faults. And finally, 6. Essential safety precautions. Starting with Section 1, the invisible safety net. You probably already know the basics here. An earthing system is simply that dedicated, low-resistance path straight to the ground. But honestly, it's better to think of it less like a simple wire and way more like a high-capacity pressure relief valve. When the electrical pressure dangerously spikes, this system immediately opens up a safe, highly conductive highway right into the dirt, basically ensuring that dangerous current doesn't build up where it absolutely shouldn't. So what are the stakes here? They're massive. First and foremost, human safety. It keeps exposed metal from suddenly becoming a lethal shock hazard. But beyond that, it completely protects your expensive equipment from frying, it prevents electrical fires, safely dissipates lightning strikes, and it provides the stable reference voltage that allows your circuit breakers to actually trip when they're supposed to.
Moving on to Section 2, types and core components. This isn't just a piece of metal stuck in the mud. It's a whole engineered network. Deep down in the soil is your earth electrode. And that can be a rod, a plate, a strip, or even a massive mat. The earth conductor ties your facility directly to that electrode, while the earth pit gives you physical access so you can actually test it. Inside your facility, the earth busbar and bonding conductors tie everything together, and your test links allow you to easily isolate the system for measurement.
And this brilliantly illustrates a crucial distinction we really have to make in the electrical world. See, equipment earthing connects the physical bodies of your machinery, like your panels and motors, to the earth. That's mainly to protect human touch. System earthing, on the flip side, grounds the neutral point of a transformer or generator to stabilize the voltage of the actual system itself. So two very different goals, but one overall safety net. Now, depending on the facility, the physical configuration of that earth electrode totally changes. You might see plate earthing, usually using copper or galvanized iron, which is super common in residential buildings. Pipe earthing is probably the most widely used because it's economical. If space is tight, a driven rod is your best bet for sure. For substations and industrial plants, you're going to see buried strip or wire earthing. And for massive power plants, they use a grid or mat, literally a vast network of buried conductors to handle those massive fault currents. It really all comes down to environmental factors, your budget, and how much space you've got.
Section 3, the 4-step inspection guide. Because look, you absolutely cannot just install this stuff and forget about it. A proper inspection starts visually. You're hunting for broken conductors, nasty corrosion, loose connections, or maybe missing labels. Then, mechanically, you are getting right in there with a wrench to ensure every single bolt is perfectly tight and the welds are intact. Electrically, you're verifying the continuity of the earth conductor and checking those neutral earth connections. And finally, documentation. You got to record your readings and defects because legally speaking, if it isn't written down, the inspection literally didn't happen.
All right, Section 4, testing earth resistance values. So how do we know it's actually working? We test it using specialized instruments like a Megger or an earth resistance tester. There are two main ways to go about this. The 3-point, or fall of potential method, is highly accurate, but it does require disconnecting the earth electrode and driving current and potential spikes into the ground. On the other hand, the clamp-on method is incredibly fast and perfect for routine maintenance, simply because there's no need to disconnect the earth at all. You're basically trading a tiny bit of absolute precision for massive gains in your maintenance speed.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the required resistance basically scales with the complexity of the installation. Check this out. For a standard residential setup, you want your earth resistance under 5 ohms. Commercial buildings drop that requirement down to under 2 ohms.
But for industrial sites and sensitive electronics, you need under 1 ohm. And substations require an ultra-conductive path of just 0.5 to 1 ohm. Less than 1 ohm. I really want to emphasize this specific number right here. For sensitive electronics, heavy industrial applications, critical infrastructure, hitting under 1 ohm is the ultimate goal. The lower that resistance is, the faster and safer that deadly fault current drains right into the earth.
Section 5. Maintenance and common faults.
Keeping that invisible shield intact requires a pretty strict calendar. Monthly, you should be doing visual inspections and checking out those earth pits. Quarterly, it's time to physically tighten the bolts, clean off any corrosion, and verify your bonding. Every 6 months, you got to pull out the testers and actually measure the earth resistance. And annually, that's when you perform a complete, comprehensive inspection, replace any damaged components, update your records, and please make sure your test instruments are actually calibrated. Because a loose bolt or a dry, corroded wire isn't just an annoyance, it's a literal fire hazard waiting for a fault current to find it. When things do go wrong, diagnosing the problem follows a pretty simple logic. Got a high resistance reading? Well, often that's just dry soil, so you water the pit or add an earth enhancement compound. Spot a corroded conductor? Moisture and chemicals are eating it away, so you must replace it right away. If your equipment is frequently tripping, well, that points straight to poor overall grounding, and you've got to investigate the whole system. And if you find a broken earth wire from some kind of mechanical damage, swap that section out immediately to restore the circuit. Finally, Section 6, Essential Safety Precautions. Now, here is the ultimate irony of all this. Testing a life-saving safety system carries immense electrical risk on its own. Never cut corners here. You absolutely must isolate equipment and follow rigorous lockout/tagout procedures. Wear the proper PPE. We're talking insulated gloves, safety shoes, the whole shebang. Never touch exposed conductors during testing. Keep your area dry, use calibrated instruments, and ensure every single connection is flawlessly restored before you re-energize. Basically, everything you do should strictly follow applicable standards like IEC 603064 and IEEE 80. So I'll leave you with this final, kind of provocative thought to ponder. When was the last time you actually checked your invisible shield? An earthing system only protects your personnel and your facility if that low-resistance path actually exists. So think about your own facility's preventative maintenance checklist today. Make sure your earth resistance is within limits, your connections are tight, and your safety path is completely clear. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and hey, stay safe out there.